Welcome to part 12 of our fall trip to Switzerland. After exploring some of the beautiful outdoor areas available near Interlaken, we decided we'd check out some of the other smaller towns around the area. Our first stop was Spiez, and then we were on to Thun, and then Thun and Bern. Part of our decision to go to these towns was that the forecast was for low overcast clouds, which wouldn't have been great if we wanted to go up into the hills or the mountains. Our first stop in Spiez was a beautiful little location, and it wasn't quite as touristy as some of the other areas. It was a nice little walk around town. To get to the castle, there's a nice little walking trip down this little hill and across the park.
Take you home. Eat my grass, please.
They were taking advantage of the local goats to mow the lawn here. We actually thought it would be fun to use this mini golf course. It was a decent day with no rain, but it was actually closed for the season at this point. We stopped at this little sandwich shop in the park for lunch. It was a really nice view and a really nice place to have lunch, and the food was very good. After grabbing some lunch and passing by this beach soccer area, which we thought was just for volleyball, we headed over to the castle. It was a nice little short walk up the hill to the castle, and when we got into the main courtyard, we found that we were actually ending up in a wedding. Luckily, the wedding was already over, so we had full access to the courtyard to check out the views. After checking out the views of the castle, we headed back down, saw a tourist train, which we weren't expecting, and then headed back past the goats to go to the train station. The trains are pretty frequent in this area, so we just walked up and grabbed the next train to Thun. is a bigger city than Spiez was, and it's quite a bit more hustle and bustle than the quiet little town. Our goal for our trip to Thun was, just like in Spiez, go to the castle and check out the views. We did our initial navigation through Google Maps, but decided to follow some of the signs to touristy areas around town. This bridge across the river is much like one of the ones in Lucerne that we saw earlier in our trip. We don't have any video from inside the bridge because I thought Melody recording and she thought she was recording, but apparently she wasn't. It's odd the things you find interesting when you're walking through a foreign country, and in this case, we saw some fish swimming in the water along with a duck, and we just thought it was pretty cool, so we took some video of it. Because the town was on a hill, Google Maps was not as useful as we were hoping it would be on how to get to the castle, so we resorted to looking at the signs and going through the parking area for the castle. The good thing about going through the parking area and the elevator is the signage was very clear and we knew exactly where we were going once we got out. The restaurant in the main courtyard of the castle wasn't open at this time, and they only opened for dinner. There is another section of the castle you could visit, but it does cost money, and we weren't terribly excited about going in and doing a historical tour, so we just headed on out to see if we could find some views. Once we made our way back down from the castle and through the windy streets, also with a quick pit stop at a co-op to use the restroom, we headed back out on the train to go to Bern. We had loose plans for the day, so going to Bern was our aspirational plan to go for dinner. It was aspirational because we never plan on 3 stops in a day because the first 2 stops could just literally take us all day, as we could wander around a bit. Some of the city views as we rolled slowly on the train into town were actually really pretty. We didn't know anything about Bern, so we actually were looking for dinner while we were on the train on Google Maps. When we arrived at the train station, we ended up taking some wrong turns and ended up at the balcony restaurant. There was a nice view from the top, but it also meant we were completely lost and Google Maps was completely useless. We ended up following signs instead of Google Maps and did a lot better job of getting into town. After wandering the streets of Bern for a bit, we got really hungry and we decided to go to the closest restaurant that had a really good rating. Unbeknownst to us, the restaurant was a reservation-only restaurant and it had a huge dining area that did a multi-course meal all at once for everyone. After wandering around confused, we eventually asked someone and they said that the bar was the place to go if you didn't have a reservation. So luckily the bar had a couple seats available, we grabbed some dinner, and then after dinner we wandered back to the train station and headed home.